Archeological Museum of Delphi. Come on in to our next adventure. Oh, okay. Đưa qua mái nữa hả?
I was telling you about. Then we walked this way up, which was the Via Sacra full of statues we didn't see at all. And for you, it's just a good example for numbers. When Nero, the notorious Roman emperor, came here to pay a visit here, he took 300 statues to get rid of, which means plenty existed before his time.
Nicene period.
It's just another to see, and probably he took the most impressive. Sorry? We saw the treasure house of Yes. It's the fully restored treasure house. Next, I'm going to make a short stop in the map to show you what's allowed most of
Sure. Oh, these gold plated. Or gold jewelries. Oh wow, look at this. It's bronze. Oh, this is the Assumptions of Apollo.
These are the queens of ours. Famous brothers, you see the Marcos, among the first statues discovered in the excavations of Delphi. Even for the nation,
Oh, that's that building we saw coming up. Wow, this is beautiful.
Civilization comes from zero. Okay, so there's always a name.
The body represents strength, the wings represent freedom, and the head of a female represents wisdom. I like this one.
That's the treasury house. That's the representation of another treasury house of the Sifnos. Sifnos was another Cycladic island, very wealthy 2,600 years ago because of its silver mines. But instead of columns that we saw at the treasury house of the Athenians, we have statues. One of them is right here next to us. Where have you seen this thing? Statues instead of columns. The Acropolis, the small temple, the Erechtheion, where we have the caryatids. That's how we call them now. And she's a caryatid as well. We call them like that. These ones come from Argos, near Mycenae. And there is a story about them that their mother, a high priestess of Argos, of Heresy sanctuary, had to go up on the hill to do something to honor the goddess. The oxen haven't returned back from the fields, that's why they offered to drag her chariots to the top. They fell asleep after they were tired.
The hands are in the front.
Whenever she had to, she prayed to Hera to give her the best gift she could. And that was eternal sleep. They died. They died at the beginning of the life. Because once you die in the ancient Greeks, that's it, game over. No second chance, there's no second coming, no second chance. Resurrection, forget it. That didn't exist. Now, the gold comes from Middle East, as the labs have told us. The labs can tell you where the metals come, as well as where the stones come. Each metal stone has got its own identity, let's call it like this. And from the way how they make the jewels, because not the only jewels we find, the archaeologists compare it to other. It was an accurate prediction. He thought that he was stronger than the Persians he attacked, but he lost. You see, it was an accurate prediction. Okay, to be honest, we don't have a card saying from Croesus with love. But it fits time frame and the origin of the letter, so it could be. And of course, something like that wealthy, okay, not any common person could offer. One thing I want always to like to show, just turn around, have a look at time. This is a life-size bull out of metal, out of silver. Remember when we started the walking the Via Sacra, the first two steps that were out of wood? It was right on the left, that. Now, here you can see how they make metal statues. The easiest was to put a wooden core. The wood doesn't survive here. We don't have extreme environmental conditions. We're not a desert. Too simple to say. And on this wooden core, they nail the metal sheets. Even here, the nails are made out of silver. What we see that looks like gold is not gold, that's gilded bronze. Now, when the Greeks sacrificed animals to the gods of Olympus mountain, it was a great time to eat meat. They didn't eat everyday meat. So, the smell of the grilled meat and these pieces, these parts that you see with gilded bronze, these were offerings to the gods. The rest of the body, the rest of the meat, was eaten by the Greeks. We still eat all the parts of the animal body. We are the weird people who kill them. Now, but this is how they sacrificed animals to the gods of the Olympus mountain. To the gods of the underworld, like Demeter, Persephone, or Hades, different way. Never on an altar. Always there was a pit, a hole in the ground, Okay, they cut the throat of the animal. The blood had to go straight into not the fire, not into the pit, into the hole, and then they burned the whole animal. Nothing was allowed to be eaten when it was meant to go to the gods of the underworld. This sacrifice, this type of sacrifice, do you know how it's called? Do you know the word? You don't know about the name. Holocaust. Holocaust means total burning. When you burn something, you destroyed it. That's why the word we use for today. They're completely different meaning, but now you understand why we use it.
Đúng rồi.
The dead on the earth, they describe them, we know that because of Homer as well. In Odyssey, we see that in the Adventures of Ulysses, that they see them like, okay, we call them ghosts now, with no flesh, and always hungry and always thirsty. Because they couldn't eat and they couldn't drink. But they described everything, the animal, exactly as it was our world. But more fair in a way, because if you were good, you were different parts of the animal where the good went, where the bad people went, they were punished forever, they were different parts. It's like couples in life, a little bit more fair. Little. Now, this is the decoration of the temple of Apollo. What you see in front of you, where all of you see it, well done, this was on the top of the columns that we saw. Remember the columns?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So that was on the top of the pediment. We have the arrival of the horses. We don't have the chariot, the arrival of the god. So we have the horses, we don't have the chariot of the god. Look how art is repeated. Again, what I'm telling you. Huri, boys, we just saw. Chores, girls. And in the corners we have the lions. One is killing the bull to your left, the other one here right next to me is killing a deer. Exactly what I've told you in the Museum of the Acropolis. Until the 6th century BC, the Greeks haven't explained nature. So, to scare away evil, they put something that scared them. Monsters or lions. That's why you don't see sphinxes, you don't see griffins, you don't see lions. Because they use the logic and they understand things. So, nature is not that scary, obviously. On the other side of the temple, it's from a little bit later time, but it doesn't bother us, is this person. Can you tell me, is this a man or a woman? Woman. It's a man. It's a tricky question. Looks like a woman, but it's not. It's a man. Because of the long hair and the dress. That's Dionysus, the wine glass. Remember him? We showed him as a baby yesterday.
That's Dionysus.
Grow up.
Fast too.
Fast, 3 days after.
Only 3 days, that's right.
Your question would be why him and not. Come a little bit closer. Θες να περάσει από την άλλη πλευρά? Σε μισό λεπτό τελειώνει μέχρι να φτάσετε. Σίγουρα. Καλά, όλοι εμείς έτσι και εμείς Αθήνα πάμε. Δεν αλλάζουμε. Απλά άμα αυτές παίρνεις από την άλλη πλευρά. Us, of Apollo, sorry. Apollo is the god of light and music, but also of order. The order we should have in our life if we're gods. Are we gods?
No.
No. We lose control. And when is that happening? When he's in charge. How many times have you used him as an excuse?
Because you drink too much.
That you drank too much and you didn't know what you were doing. Excuse, not real. Excuse. So the Greeks believe that if you suppress all the time your feelings and your instincts, suddenly they would rebel and then you cannot control them at all. But if you unleash them on certain periods of time, you can control them easily. Okay, that's how life should be. 70% like Apollo, 30% like Dionysus. It's our dark side that if we accept it, we can control it easily. Really. We're not machines, we're not robots, we cannot go on and on as perfect people. At one point, we crack. So we have to let a little bit loose in order to be bad. I know he's not that scary as Darth Vader, but he's not. Let's do Outside it had Doric columns, inside
ngày xưa họ như vậy ta? Cao quá hả? Sleeping arrows.
Most likely the Black Sea. And the very name is Greek. Amazon means single breasted. They will have one breast so that it should be fierce fighters. So stay with peaceful wives, forget the Amazon. This is how the photos look like.
Statues are very expensive. So we can trace where one statue comes from. We can trace the time, we can trace the marble. Let's see who did it. So here we have a pair of the dancers. The girls look as if they're dancing. And during the repair, they found out they were not dancing, but they were holding something. Supporting something. And that's it. Somebody recognized already. What is this, kids? So the base is where the leaves are. These ones were a little bit further up. That was on the top. All of it 9 meters tall. It comes from Athens. That's the only thing we know. Who gave it? No clue. But let's turn picture. I love it. It's a plastic text. So, what do we have here? We have a picture of the theater, how they were dressed when they excavated the theater. You see where the statue with only one head, the only statue with one head, it was found on the right up corner. And with the way he's dressed, it's how the philosophers are dressed or depicted after one. From the similarities of other busts and statues we have, these statue could be Socrates' statue. I know that Socrates looks like a mythical person. No, he was a real person. He lived 2,500 years ago. He saw the construction of the buildings on the hill of the Acropolis, and he fought in the civil war against the Spartans. So it was after 450, if you want to remember, BC. An Athenian guy came here and asked a question. Who's the wisest person in the world? Too much money, too much free time to spend. Okay? The answer here was easy. Socrates. And when this guy went back and told Socrates, I know, you see, the Oracle of Delphi tells you that you're the wisest person. I can imagine that he answered like, let's see. And he started asking all the people that were considered masters in their profession the same question. I am because of this reason, or I am because of the other reason. And everyone thought that knew everything. So after this survey was over, he went back to this Athenian guy and he said, yes, the Oracle of Delphi is right. I am the wisest person in the world because I know one thing, that I don't know anything. It's impossible to know everything. Impossible. Only the gods of the god can know. No one else. And if you say that, by the way, it takes lots of nerves to say that you don't know everything, you ask questions, and this way you get wiser and wiser and wiser. And just to remind you, that was the way of teaching of Socrates. Question every answer you gave. And at the end it drives you mad.
That's what philosophers are. That's the definition of philosopher. Đi mày. Bye.
And this is the Roman times because, as I told you, when the Greeks became Christian, this was closed down as an oracle. It stopped working. Now this, my favorite artifact here is this statue of this guy called Antinos. You can read his name up there. Antinos was a real person. He lived 1800 years ago, 2nd century AD, and he was a very, 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 very close friend to the Roman Emperor Hadrian. When they were together in a cruise on Nile, Antinos died. He died because of Hadrian instead of Hadrian. And the thing is that he was a very handsome guy, as you can see. As I told you, a very, very, very close friend. So Hadrian would make his statues and put his statues in all the big sanctuaries of the ancient Roman world. So he didn't become a god, at least he became a demigod. That's a big difference between the Greeks and the Romans. The Greeks would never dare to do such a thing. I would never dare to put myself in saying that I'm a goddess on earth. They could say that they're great nieces or nephews or something like that, but they never said I'm a god on earth or I'm more beautiful, wiser, or stronger than the gods. If I said something like this, I would commit hubris, insult to the gods, and then the gods would send a goddess to punish me. Nemesis. That's why we say that Nemesis is the divine punishment. She was a goddess that punishes me. On the other hand, the Romans never had a problem. For example, the first one, to be fair, the first emperor who built a statue, a temple in his own name in Fora Romana in Rome, that's Augustus Octavius, the nephew of Julius Caesar. But everyone else followed after him his example, and they made themselves gods, the wives, the kids, and the very, very close ones. Let's stop. First, you can choose. This quite big room, so both groups can enter. Now, even here, if I didn't have time at all to show you something, and I had to pick one, that would be. This is yesterday, Hermes, remember? Good. This is the charioteer, that means the driver of the chariot. This is a bronze, and it's one of only one in an excavation. This. It was not alone. Okay, it's what we call complex. You see, these are the horses, the chariot, and the strength prepared for horses. This was a gift of the tyrant of Jeda, one of the colonies of Sicily, who won here in the chariot races in the Olympic Games. And here you can see the second technique of how they make metal statues. You see that it's following this. Here they use the same material that even today's sculptures use, of the lost wax. That's the name. The first prototype is made out of wax. Around it, they put clay molds, like the ones we saw yesterday for the clothes of Zeus, remember? Usually have two holes, one at the top, one at the bottom. From the top hole, we pour the melted wax. From the bottom hole, the melted wax disappears, gets lost. That's why the name of it, because it's made in pieces.
Αν έχετε δώσει την έγκριση.
Because I was like, since when was the video? I was wondering. She's right. So, what I was saying, it was made in pieces. They glued them together with the same material. And the other thing is that they could mix the metals in order to show us the colors. His lips, the palm, the head, and the he had the silver in order to show you that they were white. Now, the sharp tools they use for extra details in the hair. And this is